We're live.
Yes, yes. Well, Jackson, it happened. 2 straight weeks of daily QFTAs. At least theoretically, this is our 5th QFTA of 2024. January 8th, 2024. Timothy Michael McKernan, Jackson Burkett from the Longo Big Studios. And more emails are coming in with us doing daily QFTAs. Jackson, tell me about your weekend. We didn't discuss it on TMA. Never comes up on Balloon Party. They'd be mad if you started talking about it. I really want to know. What'd you do? I want to know.
Solid weekend.
Don't you fucking bullshit me.
Friday, I saw the film American Fiction. Pretty good. Saturday, went to dinner, hung out with my lady friend, and Sunday, watched some football, helped my sister move some stuff. So, low-key weekend. I'm going to Memphis this weekend.
You missing any shows?
Nope. Leaving after the show on Friday and heading down to Memphis. Me and my brother, we're going to go watch the Grizzlies take on the Clippers, so hopefully see Kobe Brown, and the Grizzlies take on the Knicks the next night. And then heading back. So a little weekend in Memphis coming up for me.
But what did you do this weekend?
I saw the film American Fiction.
Right. Don't you sharpshoot me.
Jeffrey Wright.
Here's what I want to know. Did you spend any time with your friend of the feather?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Okay. What'd you do?
Went to dinner.
Where?
Katie's Pizza and Pasta in Rock Hill.
Never been.
It's good.
Is
really?
it?
Yeah. I think it's some of the best Italian. I have a question for you, actually.
I am taking questions. I went to Polibato's on Saturday.
So my dad saw you.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you were
Thanks
leaving.
for stopping by.
I know.
I must not have been home.
He said, I wasn't sure if I saw Tim. He said he saw a guy wearing the kind of, I don't know what you call it.
Don't you? Oh, if you say something anti-Irish, you're about to.
It's like a driving cap, would you call it?
That's offensive, right
Why?
there.
Why?
Right, is that? That's offensive.
It's like an old school, like a Sam Snead style cap. You wear it often when you go to more formal events.
I wear that. I wear it on the show sometimes.
Yeah.
It sometimes upsets the audience for whatever reason. I mean, it's an Irish heritage thing. You don't see, I don't think. I mean, I'm not saying it's limited to Irish Americans or people from Ireland, but it is more of a, and sometimes that upsets, I mean, we upset them all, but for whatever reason, but that can get people going. Yeah. And I've been wearing the hat. I think I've had that hat for 13 or 14 years, the exact same hat.
Yeah. Yep. So my dad did. My parents went to...
So they were there?
Yeah, anniversary dinner.
I'm a little irritated that they didn't say hello. I always talk it over with your parents, and I'm a big fan of Jeff and Ellen.
Yeah, they're wonderful people. They said that you were literally walking out the door when they saw you.
So I walked past them?
No, because I guess they came in, went to the bar or something, and at that time you left your table and were walking towards the exit. So I
was signing.
Yeah, right. You had Glossies with you.
I did.
Yeah. So they saw you at Polimano's on Saturday. And I was going to say, I think Katie's Pizza and Pasta is some of the best Italian, not on the hill, but Polimano's. From what I hear, I've never done.
You've never been?
Never been.
Why don't you take that friend of the feta?
Yeah. That's it. She loves Italian food, so.
How about this? How about I buy you and the friend of the feather dinner?
I appreciate it.
I want to do
that. It's not necessary.
As a gift. You're disrespecting me by not accepting.
I very much appreciate it.
Because I'm a fan of her, because she's made you happy, and I'm a fan of you.
Oh, that's such a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
I'd love that. I mean, my mom had the lamba, and I saw she had some leftovers, and I saw it looked
I wonder how that lamba does, like after, you know what I mean?
Oh,
how does it play the next day?
Well, my mom has this, she puts things in the microwave far too long. It was like two minutes. She was like 2 minutes. I was like, Mike, you can't put that in there for 2 minutes. I was like, that's a minute tops. If you're putting something in the microwave for more than a minute, probably shouldn't be eating it. Let's just be honest here.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, actually. But then my dad got the, some sort of pasta, like a bolognese pasta. He said it was outstanding. So, yeah, they saw you at Polimano's.
So I went with my wife's parents this past Saturday, and I am going with all of my siblings and their significant others and my parents this Saturday.
Nice.
Back-to-back shoots.
Back-to-back shoots at Polimano's. Yeah. Very solid. Very solid. Yeah, I definitely, I got to go try that joint. I got to try Olive and Oak. I haven't been to a couple of these.
Really?
Yeah, never been. Not really.
But you've been to Louis.
Never been to Louis. Got to go to Louis.
What the fuck are you doing with yourself?
I know. All these
You're the one that has the time.
I know. I don't know what I'm doing. Well, I hadn't really had a...
You're going to be a father within 3 years, just so you know. Mark my words on this. Want to bet that?
I kind of control the process.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, you're not going to go, like, we can't fuck tonight because I got a $10 bet with Tim.
You underestimate me. But I haven't really had someone to take up until this point, so now things have changed a little. So I could see myself going to all those joints.
What are you guys on more than a month now, right?
Mm-hmm.
God. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just
So
saying.
it's a low-key weekend, but I enjoy
When
it.
am I going to meet this girl?
Someday. I don't know.
Me off.
What do you want me to, like, bring her in for the show?
I don't know. I mean, at the same time, it's like, when would we...
Yeah, right? Like when we bring
Like,
her in the basement?
I have been working with Doug since 2000, and minus his medical episode in which I was communicating with Jody, his wife, I don't even know, I won't say hourly, but certainly like 5 or 6 times a day.
Yeah.
I've maybe seen her God, if it's 10 times, I'd be surprised. In 24 years.
Yeah. So
How many
that's...
times have you seen my wife?
Look good. I mean...
Oh, really? Did you fuck my wife? Can you imagine if somebody's walking by?
Yeah, if
They heard that.
if they changed TMA all day to this nonsense and they heard that, they were like, oh boy, that's just another day of broadcast excellence is what they say. No, but like, with Jamaica, we all got to...
No, that's right.
We all hung out. There's been times...
And you
where-
were stag.
I was, yeah. I rolled through Stag, baby. Just looking to take down couples left and right.
Yeah,
Bull for
true.
hire.
Yeah, pull for hire.
Yeah, so definitely hung out with your wife then. There's been times where we've gone to golf course and she's been out there with usually one of your sons. Said hi there.
No.
Outside of that, though, not that often.
But you've probably seen Madison more.
No, I've probably seen your wife more.
Really?
Yeah.
You fucked my wife?
One time, Plowsy took me to the hockey game that we were all going to, and Madison was there with her, and that was a lovely time, spent time. Plowsy does not listen to music on the ride. Odd, but...
So was it dead silent the whole time, or was he listening to a podcast?
No.
He was listening to Balloon Party?
Just wonderful conversation flowing throughout
Nice.
the minivan.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Ken Stagg himself.
And Stag.
Have you worked with anybody else on the show? Is this our core?
Rock back in the day.
I've never met his significant other.
I've met her once. I met her once at Obie Clark's.
Oh, is that
Just
right?
by happenstance.
I
They
like
were
that
they were
Obie
dining
Clark's.
there. Oh, yeah. I like the burger there.
Wingy. There's like some kind of wingy where they... Maybe somebody in the YouTube chat can tell me what... It's not... It's essentially double fried.
Trashed.
It's not trash, though.
Oh,
Yeah. They call it something else.
interesting.
And then when I go into order, do you want it this way? And I go, oh, yeah, that. But I can't think of it off the top of
I
my
thought it was
head.
trash. That's what I always thought was like you fry them, sauce them, and fry them
but
again.
that's not what they do. They like put extra seasoning. God, it's so good. I might get that. God, what if I got Obie Clark tonight? I was, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to watch the Michigan-Washington game, and I'm going to have a feast.
That's
I'm
a
going to
good-
fatten up for the slaughter.
It's winter. Now's the time to fatten up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you've earned it.
All right, Jackson, as I said, we're getting these emails now that we're doing QFTA more regularly. I have not read this. All I know, here, let me show you. I always am, like, for whatever reason, I think the YouTube cameras can catch. Oh, you just see some of the junk mail coming in as I turn.
Yeah.
Although it was titled Ghost Rider, so maybe Ghost Partners for Inside STL. It's great. Thank you for the offer. But here, you see, read the title of that email that was sent. I think it was sent overnight.
QFTA MMF 1524.
Yes, that's correct. So the people are starting, some erotic stories are starting to percolate with the volume now of daily QFTAs. I know that we won't be able to do it at 11:30 this coming Wednesday, and I hate that because I want to try to be consistent. But it's just inevitably going to happen because I'll have sound stories. The studio will be used for sound stories. Sometimes I'll just have things, you'll have to, whatever. I have lunch with the great Jeff Lotman at 11:30. That's correct. On Wednesday. But I still want to do it. I'm going to say, hey, Jackson, can we do it over Zoom? That's what I'm going to say.
That's cool.
All right. How excited are you about that? That never ends. You're never off the clock.
Depends on the time in which we conduct it.
No.
That will affect my enthusiasm, but either way, baby, it's part of the gig.
Fat Bob Hoosier is in the YouTube chat, and he says, yay, more banging stories. Les? JFK? Lesbian?
Probably less.
Well, I mean, we sit here and talk for like 90 minutes. We talked about JFK for like 50. Whatever.
Yeah.
Who fucking cares? Anyway. All right. Let's see what I got. Here it is. Tim, part 1. Oh. I have no idea. I mean, I really, truly have not read this. I feel like it's better if I don't. I don't know where we're going at the same time. It's not like there's anything that's off limits in this thing. Tim, part one. I used to think when you discussed threesomes that you ignored the three-letter designations because of the Prod Joe MMF joke. You say joke. But after the email on Friday, I'm starting to believe you when you say you don't remember everything said on the show. Sometimes, well, I don't. Was I lying?
Like, now I believe it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be in here, and we can hear the audio, and then I'll go over there, and I'll try to figure out a way to turn it down. And I'm always concerned I'm going to turn it down for the broadcast and not what's in the studio, because I don't want to hear it. Not because I dislike it, but I got to focus on things, and this is my little office. And I'll be listening. I'll be entertained, as if I'm listening to it for the first time, even though my voice is on it. So yes, we don't remember. If you talk for 3, well, in our case, we're talking for 4 minimum hours a day, and now with this, it's like 5.5. So yeah, this isn't an act. So let's see. I am starting to believe you when you say you don't remember everything said on the show. Sometime back, while talking to Lisa Ann, she explained the positioning of the letters in a threesome designate who touches who. For example, the more popular MMF would mean the male in the middle would have sex with both the first male and the female.
Yeah.
It does not guarantee the first male, does not guarantee the first male would have sex with a female. So, from here on out, please urge the listeners to place the correct letters.
No, you see, I'm in disagreement because
This is why I don't read them in advance, because now I'm having an organic reaction to it. I actually thought this was a guy talking about an MMF and not just as a request for
that was
letters.
The end of the email?
No, there's much more. I'm kind of getting a feeling that we're not going to get an erotic story based on this.
Maybe not, but I understand where he's coming from.
I'm operating at 90% certainty that we're not.
Okay, that's fine.
I just don't think if you're having threesomes, you're concerned about this and sending an email at, well, it wasn't super late, 8:49 on a Sunday night. But I'm not trying to listen, this person's obviously a listener. It's just like if I were coming off of a threesome, I'd be like on a dopamine rush anyway, and I wouldn't be like, oh yeah, the show I listened to, they're out of place with that. But Lisa Ann said that. I feel like anytime I've talked about it with adult stars, they're like, oh, that's bi. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, MM means the male and male are interacting.
Yeah.
So it should be MFM.
Right, and I get that.
Or FMF.
And I totally.
Well, no, FFM, because ideally.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm not going to turn it down, but God, I want that FFM. I want, let me tell you this. I want the FFM more than I would want the FMF.
Okay. Yeah, because you want to see some interplay. And I don't think, that's where you're at, and that's totally cool. I think it's kind of like the Sears Tower.
I think I should tweet out whether or not you'd prefer an FFM or FMF.
I don't see, what else is going on Twitter
on my days? Twitter feed.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Just throw that out there. And then say, like,
you imagine.
Well, it's,
Well, nobody expects anything from me anyway.
You're just collecting data.
I don't really do anything on that Twitter feed.
Yeah.
I really don't do anything on my Twitter. Do you tweet? You don't. I don't see you tweet too often.
Only Mizzou basketball is in a mode of success.
I don't even know how to find my tweets. Here they are. But I have 26,400 followers, and I haven't tweeted. And I just tweet out GIFs, and I retweet your stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's you.
Like, when's the last time I had a take that I shared with people? Oh, and that bot who follows Jeremy Rutherford, I retweeted a bunch of her stuff last week.
That was great stuff. If you have, because we're on the radio and we have multiple platforms to give off our opinions, I feel like giving it out on Twitter is kind of like.
I really do go. I'll get to Jackson. I don't know what to do because I want to get to a social media conversation, but then I feel obligated to finish the email on the MMF or MFM. Is it? So from here on out, please urge the listeners to place the correct letters in the correct order when sending in erotic stories. The email you read on January 5th, 2024 stated the wife offered an MFF.
Can you order that?
DoorDash I bet you could.
Yeah, actually you could.
And an MMF. The story takes on a new look if indeed the wife wanted to bring in a female to have sex with her and her husband, and then bring in a male to have sex with her and have sex with her husband.
Jesus. You have legend or something to follow this.
I am sure the emailer meant his wife wanted an MFM, which in most cases is probably a go, whereas an MMF is probably a no. Do you think in most cases an MMF is it probably a go, or an MFM is probably a go?
Well, I guess like if you're
Like we're taking a random sampling of TMA listeners with a female significant other.
Yeah.
And there are 1,000 of them.
Okay.
Therefore, for this to be accurate, 501 would say, "Oh, MFM, I'm in."
No.
I would agree with you.
I would think I would go to 20%.
So therefore, I disagree with the author, who goes by the name Blue from D-Town.
Okay, Blue.
All right. Part 2. When you joke about the more popular MMF, I assume because of the previous paragraph you were referring to two guys having sex. What a letdown this is.
Oh, God. It's like a grammar discussion. You know what we're talking. It's like Sears Tower, Willis Tower. You know what we're talking about.
You were referring to two guys having sex with one girl. You laugh and say, "No way, this is more popular." I think you'd be surprised at the frequency this happens in small communities.
Who's this guy? Zach Zane? Zach Zane's emailing us in. How did he know?
I think in bigger college towns and bigger cities, it is more likely that two females go out, get a little tipsy, and find a male for some version of a threesome. In my experiences in smaller communities, like farm towns, like John Cougar Mellencamp. In my experiences in smaller communities, I think the females are a little more buttoned up because everyone knows everyone. Okay, this is interesting. Experimenting with another female still makes you gay, not sporting. On the outside chance one dude can secure two females, it is usually an FMF situation. So I guess he's saying no female interaction.
Okay. But, okay.
So most of the threesomes I have seen or heard about are of the MFM Eiffel Tower version. A lot of these happen on that first Thanksgiving or first summer the girl comes home from college.
Who is this?
This is just outstanding in its randomness. She left a little shy and comes home a big-time party girl. Thanks for the time. I'll hang up and listen. Jackson, that's Blue from D-Town, who I say needs to be a regular.
Okay. Yeah, Blue, we appreciate the email. I want to say that first and foremost. Again, like when we say MFF or MMF, I think people who listen to the program know what we're talking about.
It isn't fair, though. It isn't fair because when I say, what do I say, MFF, I am thinking the two females are going to interact.
Right.
But when I say MMF, I am not thinking the two males are going to. A little bit of a double standard. A little bit.
But colloquially, I always really struggle with that word.
Colloquially?
It's tough.
It's not an easy one. That's because people don't say it.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Dirty Wings. We got from the.
Thank you. Oh, did somebody say it in the chat?
Someone said
Thank you.
Dirty Wings. Okay. We got that established. I understand what he's saying, that we're like incorrect in our placement of it when we're talking about more specifically the more popular MMF. But I think our listeners know what we're talking about. Therefore, we don't have to make the designation. But I understand his point. I wouldn't maybe necessarily send an email about it. On the second part, which would be much more open to discussion.
Yeah, I'm a little more interested in that.
Yeah.
I'm really...
I can see where he's coming on the small town thing where people know each other, and then that might give people pause on their sexual proclivity. Having said that, it's not like you're getting posted on a bulletin board. They're like, well, these guys had this two women and the guy had a threesome and the girls made out. Like, I think people would just hear have a threesome and that would be it. Like, it's not going on like a bulletin board at the local community center. Like, John.
Yeah, like, I mean, this was kind of a, relatively speaking, sexually open and enlightened interview, albeit a little too much of a focus on grammar, but nonetheless, I understand where he's coming from. And then it got down to, well, then people will know that she's gay. And that's just kind of like, like something from like, June Cleaver's era. And so but what he's saying is in small towns where things, can be a little behind versus bigger cities. So in small towns, he is saying there's more MFMs, and in big cities, more FMFs.
Okay, I can believe that.
That is essentially the thesis.
Yeah, I follow his logic on it. I don't know if we're
never thought. It's just never crossed my mind. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could totally see the bigger cities leading to more openness when it comes to stuff.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
You're taking any questions?
I
don't know
am.
if you're okay. What do you think indicates a lass is more sporting, the FMF or the MFM? Thoughts?
The former, because that
Where
means,
she's engaging with the girl.
yes, because
God, I don't know on that. I think a girl, and I don't think this is right for the record, because of course we exalt the gentleman who engages in the threesome with two girls, but then we slut shame.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we do, because of course in this show we don't kink shame or slut shame. We celebrate
right.
a girl who would have two gentlemen.
Yeah, right. No, it's a total double standard.
Okay.
Absolutely is.
So you think it's more sporting to have the girl?
Yes, because that means you're opening yourself. It's like it's like a batter who hits right-handed, but then
I really want to do a deep dive. Maybe we'll do this on Balloon Party tomorrow. I really want to do a deep dive on this.
Yeah. I think we spend the first 2 segments on it.
Minimum.
Yeah, and take reactions from texters in the YouTube chat and see what they're at. With
What do you think in the YouTube chat? Blue sounds like Matthew McConaughey and Dazed and Confused. That's from Eric Nickens. Hunchback of One Castle says this email sucks. This email really sucks. It keeps getting worse. That's from the Hunchback of One Castle. And Short King Strode says, is it gay to hook up with a guy if it's in your wedding vows? And that's something that I personally have, in which it is not cheating if it's gay.
Right.
And that was something that the Reverend said at our wedding ceremony 12 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's the key, man. Communication's always
Absolutely.
key. So if you lay that out beforehand.
Yeah. It was something that was very important. I mean, I really pushed for that.
Yeah. Yeah, you weren't going to let, because it's going to happen either way.
Yeah,
so you should be okay.
And I just want it to be understood. Hey, this is, you knew that I was going to be sleeping with gentlemen.
Right.
We can't have that be a problem.
No. How could it be?
And if you're going to be sleeping with women.
Yeah, obviously. Far from cheating. The furthest thing from it.
Wedding Tackle says, I'm loving the daily QFTA. Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Wedding Tackle. Jackson appreciates it too.
Surely.
Yeah, I like the email, Blue from D-Town. I'm kind of... I mean, the grammar thing, okay, I get it, and he is right. Mm-hmm. But moving off of that, like, okay, your peers, and we're going to go 21 to 29-year-olds, so people in their 20s. What do you think is more common? We're still going MMF, though, I got to say it, or MFF. What do you think is more common?
MMF.
Really?
Yep. I've heard of friends of mine having both, but I've heard more of the MMF. Oatmeal, not included.
I guarantee Herb has.
No, Herb's a one-woman kind of guy.
Is that right, really?
Yeah. Maybe I'm not
He's wasting that hog. I would tell him that, too.
Yeah, well, he'll be the first to tell you. But either way, I would think that the MMF is more popular. I agree with Joe.
Howard Thompson says MFM for sure, more popular.
Yeah.
But this has been such a downer. I think most of the 36 people on here, now 41, expected a hot story. Bummer, I blame Jackson.
Yeah, I am to blame on this one. I am to blame on this.
And then Eric Nicken says 2 college buddies MFM'd. One wore a condom and the other didn't. Yeah, that's...
Oof.
Yikes. That's a deal there. Risky business for sure. Eric Nickens sharing that story. God, now I would go, and I'm going back to when I was 21 to 29. So we're in the aughts. Mm-hmm. And I would without question say the MFF was more popular. But maybe I'm off.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I could be wrong. I mean, I totally could be. I just of what I've heard is that is more.
Like when you say when you've heard when you say that, what does that mean?
So I've heard of more girls who are looking for that than they are looking for another.
Really?
Female.
Wow, that makes me feel terrible about the world. I thought all these girls were bi-curious.
I mean, there's certainly that too. I mean, I've heard of stories of friends of mine getting involved with more than one woman at the same time.
All right.
But more popular, I've heard of 2 guys and 1 woman. So. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off on this. Maybe other people in my age range could tell you different, but I can tell you from my experience of what I've heard.
And how does that come to pass?
I don't know. I think more in college because, things are a little bit more free. And it's just like, you got a girl that you're kind of sleeping with that you're not necessarily in a relationship with. And they're like, you have your apartments full of your roommates. You go have a little session. They're like, here's someone outside.
And then and so your buddy's beating off he's peeking through the door and he's beating off and you just say, hey, come in, bro.
Right. It's like kind of a heat of situation where you leave the door cracked.
It means come on in.
Come on in. And And then if you like leave it closed, with a sock on the door, it's like, hey.
It's a shame there isn't a female who listens to any of the shows we're on.
I know.
Because I would really like to get into this, the psychology of the whole thing. I mean, hey, I tip my cap for any of it, but I'm really surprised to hear that the MFM is more popular than the FMF.
Yeah, the FMF stories I've heard aren't like the traditional ones. It's not like.
What do you mean traditional? Like around Christmas, First Communion?
No, I think I've told the story before. One of my buddies.
The one where you coughed and you ran off a girl.
No, well, it was either going to run off or join in. Either way, I was getting laid. But it doesn't matter. What I'm talking about is a buddy of mine went to a dorm, slept with a girl, and then her roommate was like woken up by it and was like, oh, I want some of that action, and then he just switched beds. So
Tell the story again. I want to hear that. And this is Private Citizen Pete?
No. It's one of my buddies who will not be mentioned. But he went to a dorm to go sleep with a girl.
At Missouri?
At the University of Missouri. Went to the dorm.
And this was Lathrop?
Probably Johnston. That's the all-female dorm.
All lesbian dorm.
I don't know if it's all lesbian. It's certainly not in mid-Missouri. But either way, he went to go sleep with this girl. They have a little session. Her roommate's sleeping in the bed next to her, wakes up, hears all this, and says, I want some of that action. He switches beds and goes sleeps with her right after.
Oh, wow.
So not traditional.
Is he available to join us tomorrow?
He's a great guy. I don't know if he's willing to. I think he's a man in love again.
So was she playing Hey Diddle Diddle?
I don't know if she was diddling, but I know that she wanted some action, and the girl that he had just slept with was cool with it.
She was cool with it.
Yeah.
She needs to join us as well.
Because again, it's these.
All of them need to join. Are they available to join? Can we do a Zoom?
No, this would be you'd be like the moderator on. It'd be like
I couldn't be more
Bizarre
engaged.
World, Donnybrook. Tim McKernan.
That's what I want to do. That's all I want to do.
Yeah, I think that's the thing of these casual relationships. People are just more open, like they're not attaching many feelings.
That was in nothing but relationships.
Yeah,
like real, for lack of a better term, relationships.
Right.
I didn't really have the casual. I mean, I guess a little bit, but not. God, you haven't had one of these? You wouldn't say. I don't think you would say anyway.
I promise you, I have not.
Okay, I believe you. I'm going to fold.
I have not.
You did look down on a way just right there, though. I just want to let you know that. But I do believe you. I do believe you.
Maybe I'm operating on the fifth level.
And then Iggy says he hasn't had a threesome.
That's way more surprising than anything.
I mean, just like accidentally, just
Right.
like with some, like you run into some cellulite, and and you got to kind of count it.
Right.
Plowhawk, I don't think he said it. Mm-mm. I can't imagine Doug has. It'd be great if he has.
It'd be great if Doug came out tomorrow. He's like, I have a story from my past I'd like to tell. That'd be
All right,
surprising.
let me see what I got here. I got McShamus saying, finding two women that want to work together is harder than finding two males who think it's a good time. Daddy B. Cookin says, knock, knock, may I join you?
Yeah, no, that's a key there.
Eric Nickens, what's the etiquette on campus after an MFM or MFF? Do you let him, her, swipe your meal card the next morning?
Well, assuming they're all students, you all have meal cards.
Eric Bishop says 100% McShamus. Eddie N23, that's a hell of a performance by the fella. Yeah, tip of the cap to your buddy.
Rock star.
McShamus says live reenactment. Eric Bishop says, got to give props to the gentleman to rise to the occasion so soon after. Better man than me. Doug's erotic stories would make serious money.
For real. That'd be its own separate podcast feed. Doug After Dark. Oh, my God.
Boy, my world's been rocked a little bit here.
Yeah. So, I mean, so maybe I'm way off, though. Like, I could be very
But you
much
would have a better pulse on 20-somethings.
Yeah. I
have a pulse on, damaged 40-somethings.
Yeah.
But going back 20 years in the aughts, I mean, the MMF, like the first time I really even heard of an MMF was when Joe asked Rondo about which Tennessee quarterback he'd have an MMF with. It just wasn't, I mean, I guess probably in porn scenes I've watched, I guess it would go on, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's not like I'm like, oh, let me find an MMF. What I'm looking for is usually actually girl. But there's two girls. That's my thing. Kink shame me. Go ahead. I'm here.
Maybe I'm living in a more monogamous world.
But maybe things have changed.
Yeah, monogamy seems to be in. As much as
monogamy is in? What the
think-
fuck's going on here? What are you telling me? It's like you're like transporting from 100 years ago. It's like Back to the Future 3.
I can only speak on my experiences, but everyone I know are in totally monogamous relationships.
You're all going to be at Napoli in 7 years divorced.
Well, that could be the case.
Sucking on filler.
And then maybe that will be the case. Yeah. I could think of worse ways to go about life, I guess.
A prenup. I know a guy that brought a girl home from Mardi Gras, went backdoor bear. That's from Wedding Tackle. I saw Jackson, you were just shook.
Well, but that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
You literally recoiled.
Well, yeah, bear. That's a key word.
Eric Bishop responded, "Dear God."
I mean, that's a.
Boy, I'll tell you. If there's one place where I might say I think I'm going to, I tip my cap and I'm going to politely decline, it would be anal after a day of drinking bear at Mardi Gras.
Yeah,
that is, I think the BMI is probably a little higher, for being honest. Therefore, probably a little more caloric intake, high risk for residue.
It could be a sweat situation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You put that one on ice.
Can that Wedding Tackle, can you get that guy on to join us after the guy who's Jackson's buddy who had a big night over at Johnston? Was that where it was?
Probably. I'd have to think. Lathrop was closed by the time I was
right?
at school. Yeah. All those got shut down.
He was more of a quantity over quality kind of guy, Wedding Tackle says.
Okay.
Well, that would stand to reason.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's, again, just not much to do with what we're talking about. Have that guy send in the story, though, for a
right.
Story. Not just like a Cliff Notes version from Wedding Tackle. We want the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. We're getting guests now on this.
Yeah. I think the last guest on this podcast was Hot Wife Autumn. And so, yeah.
What would it be like if I did go back to getting guests on and we went through, Hot Wife Autumn is on the same list as Jim Talent.
Yeah, we'd have to change the promo, certainly.
And people who are running for office who would promote their campaigns on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's a turn at some point, like in 2019, where it just becomes QFTAs and Hot Wife Autumn dropping by.
Barrett often talks about pivoting, being able to pivot. And I think that this would be a prime example of finding our niche, and then pivoting.
Right. Jackson is scared of the residue. That's from Harold Booker.
Amongst other things, yeah.
What else are you scared of, bro?
I don't know. This doesn't seem like something I'd be into.
Do you mind if I follow up and just ask why?
Residue would be certainly one of them. It just seems, I've talked about it before, it just seems like an exit ramp and not a...
Doug's anti-anal.
Yeah, he kink shames, though, so I kind of throw his...
He does, but he's just like, for the life of me, I don't understand, he'll briefly, just kind of almost mumble to himself anytime the topic comes off. It's obviously off air.
Yeah.
But, I think, and I could be off on this, I've heard Nikki Glazer talk about it. She's pro-anal. If she ever drops by again, now that they've put us in a spot where we can't see her when she is here, she says it's not necessarily about the physical satisfaction. It's about that it's wrong, and that's what makes it hot mentally for her.
I could see that.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
And so then if you're the guy, I would imagine the rush is that she is giving all of herself to you. And then if you're into the dominant psychological element of sexuality, that you are being sassified. Mm-hmm. And then if you are more submissive, if you're a female, then that is giving you your rush. Because I don't know, feeling wise, if, I guess it depends on what's doing, but how much different it is. From the gentleman inserting.
Right.
I haven't been lucky enough to bottom.
Not yet.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to include not yet.
Yeah, that's like a third act for you.
Once I turn 50, I'm going to start to become a loving bottom.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about pivoting.
Yeah, it was going to be the Champions Tour. Now it's just going to be bottoming.
Yeah, it's Champions Tour or bottoming. No in between. I could listen.
You don't have to apologize for your kinks, bro.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be into it. It's not something I'm looking for, so it's pretty easy for me.
Let's say you're a man in love.
Okay.
Because you weren't in love with the woman who yearned for you in her canal. So let's say you're in love, and it's a passionate session, and the target of your affection says, I know we haven't discussed this yet, but this is really what gets me going.
Then yes.
Okay, that's what I thought the answer would be.
Then yes, because that's the communication I'm looking for. It's something that they want. I want to always please the best I can. So yeah, that would be something I would say yes to.
All right,
yeah.
so you're not 100%.
No, I'm willing to adjust. There's sacrifices come, and I know.
And your sacrifice is giving anal sex.
Well, I talked about last week on QFTA, every time, and this is a really unfortunate choice of words on my part, but once in a while, everyone's got to shovel some shit. And so
that was not a double entendre, even though.
Wasn't intended to be, but it works.
Okay. All right, Jackson. I mean, I got more, but I don't want these to, because I can, once I get going, if I go to another topic, it's like pack another half hour on.
Right.
And this gives us, what are we at? 38 minutes.
35.
Nice. Okay. That's it. I'm landing the plane.
Yep.
Could I go longer? Of course I could.
Sure.
Landing the plane. Look at that. I'm landing the plane. What would today's title be?
Group sex grammar.
I like that. Group sex grammar. Thank you to Longo Biggs for sponsoring the studios. James Carlton of carltoninsurance.net. Mark Hanna of Evergreen Wealth Strategies, online at evergreenstl.com. Thank you to the great Seth Goldcamp of Design Air Heating and Cooling, online at designairservice.com. Jamie Burkhardt, Clayton Patterson, Peter Mungenast, and Ryan Seiberg at Mungenast. St. Louis Acura and Mungenast Burkhardt, Alton Toyota. For Jackson Burkett, I'm Tim McKernan. This has been QFTA Daily on The Tim McKernan Show.